Hi, everybody. We're going to talk about the last part of the axial skeleton. We're going to talk about the thoracic cage. The thoracic cage consists of the thoracic vertebrae, the ribs, the costal cartilage, and the sternum. Whoops, let me go back. All right, that wasn't showing up there for a second. So here, you can pause the video and you can go ahead and make sure you label your packets. I'm going to go over the parts here. So you can see here, you have the true ribs, which are ribs 1 through 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then there are the false ribs, which are ribs 8 through 12. So you can see 8, 9, 10, and then there's 11 and 12. Those are floating ones. And then you can see on the left side that those 8 through 10 are called the vertebrochondral ribs. And we'll be talking about that, the difference between all these ribs in a little bit. And then you can also see it's labeled here, the floating ribs. This is the costal cartilage, which you can see is like a dark reddish brown color. Also, there is the sternum, which you can see is right here, and you should label the manubrium, the body, and then the xiphoid process. You should also label the jugular notch, which is right here. All right, take a look at your Unit 5 outline and make sure you're looking at the green highlighted parts so you understand what you need to know. All right, this diagram here, the posterior view, you can see the floating ribs a little bit better. So you can see how they're not attached. 11 and 12 here are not attached to any type of cartilage. So this is just a good view so you can see the ribs 1 through 12. And remember, there are 12 pairs, 1 on each side. So your thoracic cage, okay, so your thoracic cage is going to protect, that's up here. It's going to protect all of the organs, so your heart, your lungs, your thymus. Thymus sits right on top of the heart, and it's really important because it makes our T cells, which are part of our immune system. The muscles in the thoracic cage get attached to ribs, and this helps with breathing, maintaining, like the muscles help us sit upright, maintain our vertebral column, and also moving our pectoral girdle, which is going to be right here where your pectoral muscles are. All right, the ribs, that's what we're going to talk about. So there's 12 pairs, they're curved, they're flat. Again, there are true ribs and there are false ribs. So the true ribs, all right, I want to point out they are vertebro-sternal. That means they go from the thoracic vertebrae to the sternum. And that's 1 through 7, and that is something that you have to know. They are connected to the sternum by the costal cartilage. So let's take a look. Here's 1 through 7. As you can see, true ribs, and you can see that they are connected to the sternum, vertebral sternal, okay, by that cartilage, 1 through 7. Those are your true ribs. 8 through 12 are false ribs, and they're false ribs. They are called vertebrochondral ribs, all right? So from the vertebrae, they attach from the vertebrae to chondral refers to cartilage. Okay, so they join the cartilage that then goes to the sternum. So the costal cartilage fuses together. They merge with the 7th rib, the 7th pair, I should say. There's 1 on each side. All right, so real quick, we're going to look at that. So here you can see, here's your vertebrochondral ribs. And you can see that it is attached. So like looking over here, here's number 7. 8 attaches here with the cartilage, and then the cartilage goes to the rib. 9 does as well, and so does 10. And you can see it on the opposite side as well. This allows you to see a little bit different view. You can see from 8, that's a little bit harder, but you can see it's not directly. It's merging with the cartilage, 8, 9, and 10. Going to go back. Floating or vertebral ribs, so they're just called vertebral ribs because they only attach to the vertebrae. There's no connection with the sternum. They only connect to the vertebrae and muscles of the body wall. So again, looking at them, here's 11 and 12. Those are floating ribs. So they call them false ribs. So here you can see a little bit better, 11 and 12 on the posterior side. They're only attached to the vertebrae. And it should make sense, you guys, when we are numbering these ribs. The floating rib 11 attaches to thoracic vertebrae 11. Floating rib 12 attaches to thoracic vertebrae number 12. Your ribs, I'm just going to go over this a little bit. There's a vertebral end, so the part of the rib that attaches to the vertebrae. And then there is also the neck. Okay, that's the neck of the rib. And so just to show you the attachment, we are not covering this, but you can see here would be the neck of the rib. You can see where it would be attaching to the vertebrae. Remember, thoracic, you can see, has this heart-shaped body. It has a round vertebral foramen. There's a spinous process. Here's your transverse process. All right, so just to show you how the ribs articulate with the vertebrae. And here you can see would be the body of the rib. Here's the head. This would be the neck. But I just want to point these out. They're on your sheet, but I want to make sure that you are exposed to a couple things. Okay, the sternum, flat bone, okay, midline. This is your sternum. There's 3 parts: the manubrium, the body, and the xiphoid process. And you do have to know these. They are landmarks that you have to be familiar with. The sternal body, and we'll take a look at this in a second, is tongue-shaped. It attaches to the manubrium, and this attaches to the costal cartilage of ribs pairs 2 through 7. The xiphoid process is the smallest part of the sternum. It's going to be, okay, lower at the end, okay? It attaches the diaphragm and the rectus abdominis muscle. In CPR, you probably learned, for giving CPR compressions, to find that, to palpate and find that as a landmark before you start doing compressions. Often, some people, if they're trying to save someone's life, that xiphoid process can be fractured. So let's take a look. So I want to show you this right here is the manubrium. This is the body. And I do want to show you there's a jugular notch right here that I want you to be familiar with. And you guys can even find your jugular notch. You can feel it. And then you can also feel, sometimes you can feel the clavicular a little bit. The clavicular notch is going to be where your clavicle joins. So you might even be able to feel that. I have really pronounced clavicle, so I can always find that. But everyone should be able to find your jugular notch. And then here is that xiphoid process. And that is it. Have a good day.